Welcome back to the secret underground lair. So we have the handles, the shelves, and the doors have all been sanded down to 180 grit. So I may go over them just with the 220 very quickly before we put on our urethane finish. And we're now moving on to the hinges. The cabinet has been sanded on the exterior. I still have to do a little sanding on the inside, but a little operation to do before we get farther on this. And that is dealing with hinges. So our hinges are self-closing hinges. And a little bit of a trick, because we have this face mounted here, I can't use a face mount hinge because I don't have quite enough space here. I need to have at least 2 inches to use a face mount hinge. So I'm using this kind of, I'll call it a standard hinge, but what this requires is that I have a little block that the hinge can sit on. So I'm going to have a little block underneath 4 hinges on this cabinet and the 4 hinges on the upper cabinet. So I'm going to need to cut those little blocks and get them clamped on. Now in cutting these little blocks, I'm going to cut them out of 3/4 inch plywood. And that means that I'll want to put a little bit of facing, that edge banding around that as well. So that is today's adventure. Hinges. So those little blocks that I want to cut are going to be 3 by 3 inches by 3 inches. So I'm starting by just ripping this piece into a 3-inch strip, and then we'll turn it around, set up the fence, and we'll start running off some little squares. Okay, there's our 8 blocks. We'll now put some banding around that. So to do this banding, I'm just simply cutting a piece that just extends a little bit over the edge. And gluing that on. Setting that side over there. I only need to do 3 sides of this block because the 3rd side is going to be up against the inside of the facing. But I do want to make sure that I get the grain running this way so as it sits in the cabinet. I want the grain kind of running in the right direction. Okay, that's our 8 pieces. Now, out of 50 feet of banding that I purchased for this project, that's how much is left. About 1.25 inches. That's pretty close. So I'm just going to sand off the edges of these to get a nice flush fit, and then we're going to glue them into the cabinet. So I'm just using the desktop or benchtop belt sander to get rid of the excess on these blocks. So there we have a nice little, apparently, solid maple block. Kidding, just plywood. These will look really good. So I'm going to clamp these onto the inside of the cabinet and glue them on. Then we have a place for the hinges to be mounted. So time for a bite of lunch. Got some errands to run this afternoon. So we'll get back to this a little later. All right, that is the cabinet sanded on the interior and the exterior. I didn't want to bore you with all of that business, so I didn't record it all. But now ready to put on the doors, on the hinges. I had glued on the little hinge blocks, so they're all in place. Now I'm just going to do some careful measurement, use my Forstner bit and drill the holes in the back of the doors. Well, that's a little nerve-wracking. All right, drill press is set up with the Forstner bit. I have marked the holes where I want to drill them. It's going to be 22 millimeters from the edge. And I have put a little center punch in there so that I can bring this down and get that center of the Forstner bit put right in the hole where I want it. And we'll drill this hole. I've set my depth stop. I've got the Anaconda in place to suck up a lot of the dust, so what could possibly go wrong? There's our first hole. So I'll drill the second one out now. So I have placed the top door on the cabinet just loosely, but I want to make sure that since the top door is the one that has the curve on it, that's a critical fit. This one can be a little bit looser, but a little more give on this, on the lower door. But that top door has to fit the curve, and then exactly where that ends here is where I want the top of this door to be. So that positioned in place. I've got him where I want it. I'm going to put the hinge on here. Then I can set it on our hinge blocks that we've mounted in here and get that hinge in. Now these hinges do have adjustability up, down, in, out, and even up and down, in and out, and even an adjustment on the speed at which it closes. So a nice hinge to use. So I've marked where I want to put the holes here for the screws. I'm just going to drill those out now, and then we'll screw it in. Okay, now I can flip the door around, set it on these hinge blocks, and mark the holes where I want those to be mounted. So I'm pretty comfortable with that, knowing that there is some adjustment that can be made on the hinges themselves. I'm just going to move this cabinet a little bit closer so it's easier to reach in there. Got my holes marked, so I can just drill these holes for the screws. Okay, there we have a door. Look at that, even the soft close action works there. All right, we're going to work on getting this upper door put in place, exactly the same process. I'm going to drill the holes, set it in place, and I'll come back when that's done. So there are the right side doors attached. Now I'm just going to flip the piece over and put on the left-hand doors. And there is our cabinet stood up with the doors in place on hinges. So we can open them up, close them up. They close nicely. Now there's a little bit of adjustment to do on these hinges, or on the doors. On this curve right up in here, as this door opens, it binds right at this point, which means what I'm going to have to do is put a little bit of a groove in the top of this facing here, just to allow that door to open up a little bit more. It's really close, but that's going to be a little bit of a notch required for the door to open. And then of course we have our handles, which are now complete and ready to be installed. So they'll kind of go on like that. So that'll be the next piece. But I'm going to call that a video for today. Tomorrow we'll make that little bit of an adjustment up on the top of the shelf there, or top of the door, on that side and that side. We'll put the handles on. I'm going to take the doors right off and we'll apply the Varathane. Oh, one more thing, we need little door stops on the top and on the bottom. So I'm going to put little blocks there just to kind of catch the doors as they close. And that's it. I think we could call that, well, I'm not going to call it assembly complete yet because I want to put the handles on. Thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.